Elizabeth Carter had carried that silver tray down the west hallway 1,000 times. Tonight, her hands were steady, her steps were silent. And then she heard her husband's voice through the study door. She was the right choice for the estate, Henry, not the right woman for me. The tray did not fall. Her heart did. 11 years of marriage undone in a single breath. Before we go further, please subscribe to this channel, follow Elizabeth's story to the very end, and leave a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far her story has traveled. Elizabeth Carter did not move. She stood in the hallway with the silver tray balanced against her forearm, 2 glasses of brandy still upright, and she listened to the sound of her husband breathing on the other side of the door. Henry Whitlock spoke first. "You cannot be serious, Jonathan." "I am entirely serious." "She is your wife." "She is the manager of my estate, Henry. There is a difference." Inside Elizabeth's chest, something made a small, precise sound. Not a break, a stop, like the last tick of a clock somebody had forgotten to wind. "Jonathan." "She was the right choice for the estate, not the right woman for me. I have said it plainly before, and I will say it plainly now." "Then why in God's name did you marry her?" "Because my father was dying. Because the land needed a woman who could read a ledger and run a household, and not weep when the frost came early. Elizabeth Ashford could do all 3 before she was 22. She was the correct choice. She is still the correct choice. And the other matter? The other matter is a separate matter. Jonathan, a man cannot. A man can do what a man does, Henry. Lower your voice. Elizabeth's knuckles whitened on the rim of the tray. She did not set it down. She did not turn away. She listened because listening was the last thing in the world that still belonged to her. Miss Brooks is not a separate matter. She is an entire matter. Miss Brooks is young, and she laughs, and she does not look at me as though she is counting the cost of my boots. Elizabeth does not. Elizabeth counts everything, Henry. That is what Elizabeth does. That is what Elizabeth was hired to do. Hired. The word landed in her stomach like a stone dropped into a dry well. "Jonathan, for God's sake, the woman has given you 11 years. And I have given her a house, a name, a pew at the front of the church, and the keys to every door on this property. She has not been mistreated. That is not the same as being loved." There was a pause on the other side of the door. A long one. Elizabeth counted it 4 seconds, 5, 6, the way she counted everything, the way he had just accused her of counting. Then Jonathan Carter said very quietly, "No, it is not." Elizabeth turned. She did not run. She did not stumble. She walked the length of that hallway the way she had walked it for 11 summers, with her shoulders level, and the tray balanced, and the 2 glasses of brandy gleaming in the candlelight. She walked past the portrait of his mother. She walked past the clock that she had wound herself every Sunday morning since the 2nd week of her marriage. She walked past the door to the linen press that she had reorganized 3 times, and the staircase she had persuaded him to have repaired after the overseer's boy fell through the 2nd step in 1816. She walked until she reached the kitchen, and then she set the tray down on the long pine table, and then she stood there with her hands flat against the wood, and she breathed. "Mrs. Carter." It was Hannah the cook. 40 years old, widowed, twice sharp as a whetted blade. "Mrs. Carter, you're pale as milk. Sit down." "I am not pale." "You are the color of the inside of a turnip, ma'am." "Sit." "Hannah." "Yes, ma'am." "Did Mr. Carter request brandy tonight?" "He did, ma'am, before supper." "And did he mention Mr. Whitlock would be calling?" "He did not, ma'am. Mr. Whitlock come up the drive about an hour after sundown, same as always." "Same as always?" "Yes, ma'am. Every other Thursday the past, I reckon 6 months now. Him and the master shut themselves up in the study and don't come out till past 10. Elizabeth nodded once. She did not look up from the grain of the pine. "Hannah, I'd like you to sit down a moment." "Ma'am, I got the morning bread to set." "Sit down, please." Hannah sat. "Hannah, how long has Miss Brooks been taking tea at the house?" Hannah's mouth opened. Then it closed. Then it opened again. "Ma'am." How long, Hannah? Ma'am, it ain't my place. It is your place if I am asking you. Since May, ma'am. Since May. Yes, ma'am. Thursday afternoons, when you ride out to the North Fields with Mr. Holloway to see about the fence line. I see. Ma'am, I swear before the Lord I thought you knew. I thought it was a family matter. She's Mr. Whitlock's cousin, ain't she? And she is Mr. Whitlock's cousin. Yes, ma'am. And she takes tea in my parlor on my Thursday afternoons, while I am counting fence posts 3 miles from this house. Ma'am. Thank you, Hannah. You may go back to your bread. Hannah did not move. Ma'am, if I may. You may not. Hannah stood. Hannah left. The door to the pantry swung shut behind her with the kind of soft finality that servants learn in houses where the mistress is not to be spoken to on certain subjects. Elizabeth remained at the pine table. She did not weep. She had not wept in 11 years, and she did not intend to begin tonight in front of a cook. She thought instead. She thought about the north fence line, and about Mr. Holloway, and about the fact that Jonathan had started suggesting gently, reasonably, almost offhandedly, that she ride out on Thursdays to keep an eye on things, beginning in April. She had thought it was trust. She had thought it was after 11 years finally being given authority over a part of the property he had previously managed himself. She had been flattered. She had been flattered. And she had ridden 3 miles out and 3 miles back every Thursday in April and May and June, and into the thick heat of July. And while she was riding, a 24-year-old girl had been sitting in her parlor drinking from her mother's china. That, Elizabeth thought, is a very complete piece of arithmetic. Mrs. Carter. She did not turn. She knew the voice. Margaret. The boy at the gate said you'd come in from the West Hall looking like a ghost. I told him he was mistaken. Was he mistaken? He was not mistaken. Margaret Hale crossed the kitchen in 3 strides and put one hand on Elizabeth's back between her shoulder blades, the way she had been doing since they were 9 years old. Tell me. Not yet. Elizabeth? Not yet, Margaret. I have to think. You have to sit is what you have to do, and drink something, and tell me what has happened in this house tonight. I heard my husband say I was never the right woman. I heard him say I was the right choice for the estate. I heard him tell Henry Whitlock in the study with the door closed that a man does what a man does. And I heard him say that Amelia Brooks laughs. Margaret's hand did not leave her back. Say that again. I will not say it again. Elizabeth. I will not, Margaret. I have said it once. That is enough for one night. How long has it been going on? Since May. Since May. Thursdays, in my parlor, with my tea service. Dear God in heaven. I do not think God is particularly involved in the matter. Margaret pulled out the chair opposite and sat, and for a long moment neither of them spoke. In the pantry, Hannah was pretending very loudly to do something with flour. Elizabeth, look at me. I am looking at the table. Look at me. Elizabeth lifted her eyes. What do you want to do? Margaret said. I do not know yet. Yes, you do. You always know. You knew what to do when the barn burned. You knew what to do when your father-in-law died in the upstairs bedroom and left Jonathan with 42 separate debts and a cotton crop half planted. You knew what to do when the overseer's wife lost the baby and you sat with her for 3 nights. You always know Elizabeth Ashford. Don't you tell me you don't. Elizabeth Carter. Ashford tonight, I think. Elizabeth's mouth moved. It was not quite a smile. Margaret. Yes. Do you remember what my mother said to me the morning I was married? I remember you would not tell me. She said, a woman's value in this country, Elizabeth, is what she can do that nobody else can. Never let them learn to do without you, and never let them learn how much you do. She said it while she was buttoning the back of my dress. She said it the way another woman might have said, mind the weather. And I have spent 11 years letting my husband learn exactly how much I do. I have spent 11 years making him believe the house runs itself. The ledgers balance themselves. The overseer reports himself. The crop gets itself to market. I have been very, very quietly the entire machinery of this estate, and I have let him believe the machinery was invisible, because that is what I thought a good wife did. Elizabeth. I was wrong. Elizabeth, listen to me. I was wrong, Margaret. I have been wrong for 11 summers. A man cannot love what he cannot see, and I have made certain every day of this marriage that he could not see me. Margaret was quiet. What will you do? I do not know yet. Elizabeth. I said I do not know yet, Margaret. But I know this. I will not sit at his table tomorrow morning and pour his coffee and ask him how he slept. I know that much. He will notice. He will not notice. That is the entire point. He has not noticed anything about me in 11 years. He will not begin tomorrow. Then what? Footsteps. Elizabeth heard them from the hallway, unhurried, heavy, the particular tread of a man who has had 2 brandies and is not in a hurry to be anywhere. Margaret. Yes. Go out through the kitchen garden. I will call for you in the morning. Elizabeth. Margaret, please. Margaret stood. Margaret left. The back door clicked shut behind her a full 4 seconds before Jonathan Carter's voice filled the doorway. Elizabeth. I wondered where you'd got to. Did you? Mr. Carter? Henry is taking his leave. I thought you might wish to see him out. I do not wish to see him out. A pause. I beg your pardon. I said I do not wish to see him out. I am tired. I have been on my feet since 5. Hannah will see to him. Another pause. Longer. Elizabeth, are you unwell? I am perfectly well. You are sitting in the kitchen. I am aware of where I am sitting, Jonathan. You do not sit in the kitchen. Tonight, I am sitting in the kitchen. He stepped into the room. She did not look up. Has something happened? Nothing has happened. Elizabeth. Nothing has happened, Jonathan. This is how things have always been. You simply have not been in the kitchen before. He did not answer. She could feel him looking at her, the particular kind of looking a husband does when he has begun dimly to suspect he has left a door open somewhere in the house and a draft has got in. I will see Henry out myself then. Thank you. Elizabeth. Good night, Jonathan. He stood there a moment longer. She did not lift her eyes from the pine. Then he was gone. She listened to his footsteps retreat down the hall. She listened to the murmur of his voice and Henry's at the front door. She listened to the sound of Henry's horse on the gravel, and to the front door closing, and to Jonathan climbing the stairs to his bedroom. His bedroom, not theirs, because he had moved his things across the hall 3 winters ago, and told her it was on account of his cough. She had believed him. Of course she had believed him. She had believed him the way a woman believes a man she has been trained since girlhood not to doubt. When the house was finally quiet, Elizabeth stood up from the pine table. She walked to the drawer beneath the sideboard. She opened it and took out the small leather book in which she had kept for 11 years every account of every transaction on the Carter estate. Every bushel, every bale, every loan, every payment, every repair, every birth, every death, every hired hand, every dismissed one. She carried the book upstairs to her own bedroom, which was not his bedroom, and she sat down at the small writing desk beneath the window, and she opened the book to a fresh page. She did not cry. She wrote in her steady schoolmistress hand 3 words at the top of the page. What he owes. She looked at the words a long time. Then she dipped her pen again, and beneath the heading she wrote the first entry. 11 years of a woman he did not love spent on a house he could not have run without her. She closed the book. She set down the pen. She blew out the candle. And in the dark of that upstairs room, in the summer of 1818, with the cicadas thick in the trees outside her window, and her husband asleep across the hall, beside a door he had closed against her 3 winters ago, Elizabeth Carter stopped being a wife. She did not tell anyone. She did not declare it. She did not write it down, not even in the leather book. She simply stopped. And in the morning when Hannah came to the kitchen at 4:30 to start the bread, she found the silver tray from the west hallway already polished and put away, and the 2 brandy glasses washed and dried and returned to the sideboard, and a note in the mistress's handwriting on the pine table that read, "In 6 plain words, I will not be pouring coffee." The note sat on the pine table for 43 minutes before Jonathan Carter saw it. Hannah saw it first. Hannah read it twice. Hannah folded a dishcloth over it, and then after a minute of standing very still with her hand on the cloth, she uncovered it again and set the salt cellar beside it so it would not be missed. Then she went about her bread. At 10 minutes past 6, Jonathan Carter came down the back stairs in his shirt sleeves and his boots unlaced the way he always did, and he stopped in the kitchen doorway. "Hannah?" "Yes, sir." "Where is Mrs. Carter?" "Upstairs, sir." "Upstairs?" "Yes, sir." "Is she ill?" "I couldn't say, sir." "Hannah?" "I ain't seen her since last evening, Mr. Carter. I come in at 4:30. That note was on the table." He crossed the room. He picked it up. He read it. He read it again. "What does this mean?" "Sir, I don't rightly know." "You don't rightly know?" "No, sir." "Hannah, my wife has left a note in her own kitchen saying she will not be pouring coffee, and you don't rightly know what it means." "No, sir." He stared at her. She stared at the flower. "Is Mrs. Carter in her bedroom?" "I reckon she is, sir." "You reckon?" "Yes, sir." He turned and went up the front stairs 2 at a time. 3 minutes later he came down the front stairs at the same pace, and the door to Elizabeth's room had not been opened because he had knocked on it, and she had said through the door, "I am awake, Jonathan. I am not coming down." And he had said, "What is the meaning of this?" And she had said, "I have told you the meaning. I am not coming down." And he had stood there with his hand on the knob for a full 8 seconds, and then he had gone back down the stairs because Jonathan Carter was a man who did not push open doors. His wife had declined to open for him. Not yet. Not on the first morning. He went to the study. He rang for coffee. Hannah brought it. He drank it black, and he drank it alone, and he stared at the account book on the corner of his desk, which Elizabeth had not for the first time in 11 years opened for him before breakfast. At 7:30, Mr. Holloway came up the drive. Mr. Holloway was the overseer. He was 61 years old. He had served Jonathan's father before him, and he had spoken directly to Jonathan Carter approximately 4 times in 8 years. Every other matter had gone through Mrs. Carter. "Morning, sir." "Holloway." "Is Mrs. Carter about, sir?" "Mrs. Carter is indisposed." "Sir?" "She is upstairs." "What do you want, Holloway?" "Sir, the Pettyjohn boy come up from the south pasture. 2 of the yearlings are out. Fence give way in the night. We got them penned in the creek bottom for now, but we need a decision about the north field, because if we turn them in there with the mares—" "Turn them in with the mares." "Sir?" "I said turn them in with the mares, Holloway. They're yearlings. They won't trouble the mares." Holloway was quiet a moment. "Sir, with respect, Mrs. Carter said last April we wasn't to mix the yearlings with the mares on account of the bay mare being in foal and skittish." "The bay mare is in foal." "Yes, sir. Since March." "Since March." "Yes, sir." Jonathan set down his cup. "Then put the yearlings in the east paddock." "East paddock ain't fenced yet, sir. Mrs. Carter has the boards ordered, but they ain't come in from Richmond." "Good God, Holloway." "Sir, then put them somewhere they can't get out. I do not care where. Use your judgment." "Yes, sir." Holloway did not move. "Is there something else, Holloway?" "Sir, payroll's due Friday." "I am aware." "Mrs. Carter generally has the envelopes ready by Thursday noon." "Mrs. Carter will not be preparing the envelopes this week." "Yes, sir. Only I don't know the amounts, sir." "The amounts are in the book." "Yes, sir. Mrs. Carter keeps the book." "The book is on my desk." "Yes, sir, but she keeps the second book, the one with the adjustments, for the men with families and the men what got docked for the March business, and the Wilkes boy who we advanced against his September pay. That book is in her desk, sir." Jonathan Carter stared at his overseer. "There is a second book." "Yes, sir. For 8 years now." "For 8 years." "Yes, sir." He did not answer. Holloway tipped his hat and walked out. Jonathan sat in the study for another hour. He did not open the account book. He looked at it. He looked at the door. He looked at the stairs. At 10 o'clock, Elizabeth came down. She was dressed. She was composed. She walked past the study without stopping. Elizabeth, she kept walking. Elizabeth, she stopped in the hall. Yes, Jonathan. Come in here, please. I am going out. Come in here. She came in. She did not sit. Elizabeth, what in God's name is happening? Nothing is happening. You left a note on the kitchen table. I did. Why? Because I will not be pouring coffee. That is not an answer. It is the only answer I have for you this morning. He stood up. Elizabeth, you will sit down and you will tell me what has come over you. I will not sit down. Elizabeth, I have a call to make, Jonathan. I will be back before supper. Hannah has the menu. You will find the household running exactly as it has always run, because I have arranged it to run that way for 11 years, and one morning without me will not undo 11 years of arrangement. Good morning. She left. He did not follow her. He stood in the study with his hand flat on the desk, and he listened to his wife's footsteps go down the hall and out the front door. And for the first time in his adult life, Jonathan Carter had the distinct and unfamiliar sensation of a floor moving beneath his feet. Elizabeth went into town. She went to Margaret Hale's house. She sat in Margaret's front parlor, and she drank a cup of tea that she had not poured, and she said very quietly, Margaret, I need you to do something for me. Anything. I need you to invite Amelia Brooks to tea. Margaret set down her cup. Elizabeth. This afternoon, in your parlor, not mine. Elizabeth Carter. I will be there. She will not know I am coming. You will write the note and send it now. Elizabeth, what are you going to do? I am going to have tea with her. Elizabeth. Margaret, write the note. And if Jonathan finds out? Jonathan will not find out until I wish him to find out. Elizabeth, if I have known you since we were in pinafores, and I have never in my life seen you like this. No, you have not. Margaret looked at her a long moment. Then Margaret wrote the note. At 2:15, Amelia Brooks walked into Margaret Hale's parlor. She was 24 years old. She had a face the color of fresh cream and a laugh that carried. She came in smiling at Margaret, and she was halfway through her greeting when her eyes found Elizabeth Carter sitting in the chair by the window, and the greeting died in her throat. Mrs. Carter? Miss Brooks. I did not know you would be... Sit down, Miss Brooks. Mrs. Carter, Please, sit. Amelia sat. Margaret poured. Margaret's hands were not steady, but Margaret's hands did not need to be steady. Elizabeth's were. Miss Brooks, how long have you been taking tea at my house on Thursday afternoons? Amelia's cup stopped halfway to her mouth. Mrs. Carter. How long, Miss Brooks? 3 months, ma'am. Perhaps 4. Since May. Yes, ma'am. And in those 4 months, how many times did my husband tell you he would leave me? The cup went back down to the saucer. Tea splashed over the rim. Mrs. Carter, please. Miss Brooks, I am asking you a question. I am asking it without raising my voice, and I am asking it without raising my hand. You will find that a courtesy you would not be extended by every wife in this county. Answer it. He never said he would leave you. No, ma'am. He said he could not. He could not. On account of the estate, ma'am. On account of all that you do. All that I do. Yes, ma'am. Elizabeth was quiet a moment. She set down her cup and she folded her hands in her lap, and she looked at the girl across from her with something that was not anger and was not even quite pity. Miss Brooks, how old are you? 24, ma'am. And has my husband told you that he loves you? Mrs. Carter. Has he? Yes, ma'am. I see. Miss Brooks, I do not care how it began. I did not come here to accuse you of beginning it. I came here to tell you something. Ma'am, I am not going to fight you. Amelia looked up. Ma'am, I am not going to fight you for him. I am not going to weep, and I am not going to write to your father, and I am not going to stand in the road and tear your hair. Do you understand me? Yes, ma'am. I am going to tell you the truth about the man you believe you are in love with, and then I am going to leave this parlor, and what you do with the truth will be your own affair. Mrs. Carter. Jonathan Carter owes $11,000 to the bank in Richmond. He owes another $2,000 to his cousin in Baltimore. The cotton crop of 1816 failed, and the crop of 1817 was mortgaged before it was planted. The only reason this estate is not under auction is because I have for the past 4 years managed the debt against the yield and paid down the interest with my own dowry money. Did he tell you any of that, Miss Brooks? Amelia's face had gone the color of ash. No, ma'am. I did not think so. Did he tell you that he has not shared a bedroom with me in 3 winters? Mrs. Carter, please. Did he tell you that, Miss Brooks? Yes, ma'am. He did tell me that. Did he tell you why? He said the marriage had been an arrangement, a business matter. A business matter. Yes, ma'am. Miss Brooks, when my father-in-law died in 1815, he left behind 42 separate debts, a half-planted crop, 3 lawsuits, and a son who had never balanced a ledger in his life. Every one of those 42 debts was settled by me. Every one of those lawsuits was handled by me with the assistance of Mr. Peabody in Charlottesville, whose bill I paid out of the sale of my own mother's pearls. The crop of 1815 was brought in by me with Mr. Holloway because my husband was in Richmond for 4 months attempting to sell a piece of land he did not own. Is any of this the arrangement Jonathan described to you? Amelia did not answer. I will take that for a no. Mrs. Carter, I did not know. No, you did not. You knew only what he told you, and what he told you was a story of a cold woman and a loveless house, and a husband who deserved better than he had been given. That is a popular story among married men, Miss Brooks. You will hear it again in your life. I hope for your sake you have learned this afternoon to ask a second question before you believe the first. Mrs. Carter. Yes. What are you going to do? Elizabeth smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was not an unkind one either. It was the smile of a woman who had at 10:10 on a summer morning in 1818 finally stopped being surprised by her own life. Miss Brooks, I am going to do nothing. Ma'am, I am going to do exactly nothing. I am going to go home, and I am going to walk past my husband's study without stopping, and I am going to sit at my own desk, and I am going to continue doing exactly what I have done for 11 years, which is, as it happens, everything. And I am going to let my husband discover day by day, and hour by hour, and crisis by crisis, precisely what it is that he has been confusing all these years with an arrangement. Mrs. Carter. Yes. Will you tell him I was here? No, Miss Brooks, I will not. You will tell him, or you will not tell him. That is a choice I am leaving with you. I have, as of this afternoon, run out of decisions I am willing to make on my husband's behalf. She stood. She set her teacup on the tray. She walked out of Margaret Hale's parlor without looking back, and Margaret would say for the rest of her life that she had never in 62 years watched a woman leave a room the way Elizabeth Carter left. That one not in anger, not in triumph, not in sorrow, but with the quiet, terrible efficiency of a woman who had at last decided what her silence was worth. Elizabeth did not go home. She went to the bank. She sat across the desk from Mr. Abner Whitcomb, who had known her since she was 12, and she said, Mr. Whitcomb, I would like to open an account, in my own name, today. Mrs. Carter. Yes. You wish to open an account separate from your husband's. I do. Mrs. Carter, under the law of this state, a married woman, I am aware of the law, Mr. Whitcomb. I am also aware that my father's will, which I have in this envelope, established a trust in my name that was never dissolved at my marriage. On account of a clerical oversight, I did not trouble to correct at the time. I am troubling to correct it now. The money is mine. I would like to deposit it in an account that is also mine. Will you help me, Mr. Whitcomb, or shall I ride the 40 miles to Charlottesville? Mr. Whitcomb looked at her. He looked at the envelope. He looked at her again. Mrs. Carter. Yes. How much are we speaking of? $4,200. Good heavens! Yes, Mr. Whitcomb. Does Mr. Carter? Mr. Carter is not a party to this transaction, Mr. Whitcomb, nor will he be informed of it by any employee of this bank. Are we clear? Mrs. Carter, yes, we are clear. Thank you. At 4:30, Elizabeth Carter rode home. She came up the drive at her usual pace. She dismounted at the usual post. She walked into the house through the usual door. And when Jonathan appeared in the doorway of the study, with his collar loose and his hair untidy, and the particular look of a man who had spent an entire afternoon attempting to find a second account book in a desk he did not know how to open, she said, "Good evening, Jonathan. I trust you had a productive day." He opened his mouth. He closed it. He said very carefully, "Elizabeth." "Yes." "Amelia Brooks came to the house this afternoon." "Did she?" "She was upset." "Was she?" "Elizabeth, what have you done?" Elizabeth removed her gloves one finger at a time. She set them on the hall table. She looked at her husband for what felt to both of them like a very long time. "Jonathan, I have not done anything." "Elizabeth, I have not done anything, Jonathan. That is the point. I have for the first time in 11 years done nothing at all. And I believe from the look on your face that you are beginning to understand the difference." She walked past him. She went up the stairs. She closed the door to her bedroom, and downstairs in the hall where his wife's gloves lay folded on the table and her footsteps had not yet finished echoing from the landing. Jonathan Carter stood alone with his hand on the doorframe of his own study and felt for the first time in his adult life the quiet and unmistakable sensation of being watched by a woman who was no longer looking at him at all. Jonathan did not sleep that night. He sat in the study with the lamp trimmed low and the second account book finally open in front of him. Hannah had found it for him eventually, in the drawer of Elizabeth's writing desk, under a stack of letters she had apparently been answering on his behalf for 6 years, and he turned the pages one by one, and by midnight he had understood approximately half of what was in front of him, and by 2 in the morning he had understood that he did not understand the other half at all. At 2:15 he went upstairs. He stood outside Elizabeth's door. He raised his hand. He lowered it. He went back down the stairs. At 6:30, Elizabeth came down fully dressed, with her hair pinned and her shoes on, and she walked past the study without looking in. "Elizabeth." "Yes." "A moment, please." She stopped in the doorway. "Yes, Jonathan." "There are entries in this book I do not understand." "I expect there are." "Elizabeth, I need your help." "Do you?" "Yes." "Jonathan." "Yes." 3 winters ago, when you moved your things across the hall, I asked you if something was wrong. Do you remember what you told me?" "Elizabeth?" "You told me you had a cough. You told me the cough was keeping me up. You told me it would pass by spring. Do you remember that?" "Yes." "Was there a cough?" A pause. "No. Thank you for answering. It is the first honest answer you have given me in 3 years. I am not going to help you with the book. Not today. Not this week. Mr. Peabody in Charlottesville will answer your questions if you write to him. His bill, you will find, is considerable. Good morning." She walked out. He did not follow. By noon, word had moved through the county the way word always moved through the county. Not loudly, not in pronouncements, but through the back doors of kitchens and the side porches of dry goods stores and the long, slow conversations between women pinning laundry on shared lines. Amelia Brooks had been seen leaving Margaret Hale's house in tears. Mrs. Carter had been seen at the bank. Mr. Carter had been seen on the front porch at 6 in the morning with his collar undone. By 2, the Reverend Mr. Pettigrew was at the door. "Mrs. Carter." "Reverend?" "I wonder if I might have a word." "You may not." "Mrs. Carter, Reverend Pettigrew, I have known you for 11 years. In those 11 years you have taken tea in this parlor 47 times. You have accepted hams at Christmas. You have accepted a pew cushion my mother embroidered, and you have accepted last October a loan of $120 against the roof of your rectory, which has not yet been repaid. I have not once in 11 years asked you for a word. I am asking you now. Go home. Mrs. Carter, I only wished. Go home, Reverend. He went. Hannah at the kitchen door did not look up from her dough, but the corner of her mouth moved. At 3, Margaret Hale came through the back. Elizabeth. Margaret. Half the town is talking. I am aware. Elizabeth. Jonathan was at my house an hour ago. Elizabeth set down her pen. Was he? He asked to speak to me. I told him I was not at home to him. He stood on my porch for 11 minutes, Elizabeth. I counted. And then he asked my girl through the door whether I had seen you cry. And had you? No. I told her to tell him no. Thank you. Elizabeth, he is unraveling. Yes. It is only the second day. Yes. Elizabeth, I am not telling you to stop. I am telling you that the man has been asking my houseboy whether his wife has wept. That is not a man who is beginning to understand. That is a man who is beginning to drown. Margaret. Yes. 11 years ago, the week before I was married, I wept for 2 nights in your upstairs bedroom. Do you remember why? I remember. I wept because my mother had told me very plainly that the man I was about to marry did not love me. She said he was a good man, and he would be kind to me, and he would not beat me, and he would not drink, but that he did not love me, and I was not to expect that he would come to. She told me this on a Tuesday. I married him on a Saturday. And I have spent 11 years, Margaret, 11 summers and 11 winters attempting to prove my mother wrong by being so useful, so quiet, so indispensable, so impossibly competent that one morning he would wake up and see me. Do you understand? Yes. He is not drowning, Margaret. He is waking up. That is a different thing, and I am not going to rescue him from it. Margaret was quiet. Elizabeth, there is one more thing. Yes. Amelia Brooks left town this morning. Her uncle put her on the coach for her aunt's house in Savannah at 8 o'clock. I had it from the stable boy at the inn. Elizabeth set down her pen a second time. She is gone. She is gone. Without a word to him. Without a word. She left a letter, the stable boy said. Whether it was for him or for her uncle, I could not say. Elizabeth sat a long moment. Margaret. Yes. I did not expect her to go. No. I expected her to fight. I know you did. I was prepared for her to fight. I was not prepared for her to believe you. Yes, Elizabeth. You told her the truth. She was 24 years old, and a man old enough to be her uncle had been lying to her since April. You gave her the first honest thing anybody had given her in 4 months. Of course she believed you. I did not do it to save her. I know. I did it to finish him. I know that too. It does not change what you gave her. Elizabeth looked down at her hands. They were steady. They were always steady. Margaret, go home. I will call on you tomorrow. Elizabeth, please, go home. Margaret went. At 4:30, Jonathan came in the front door. He came into the parlor without knocking. He had been riding, his boots were dusty, his coat was off his shoulders, and the particular flat, pale look on his face belonged to a man who had ridden 9 miles in one direction and 9 miles back, and had not found what he was looking for at either end of the road. Elizabeth? Yes. Amelia Brooks has left the county. Yes. You knew. I knew this afternoon. Margaret told me. Elizabeth, look at me. I am looking at you. You are looking at the window. I am looking in your direction, Jonathan. That is more than you have done for me in 11 years. It will have to suffice. Elizabeth, what did you say to her? I told her the truth. What truth? The truth about the debts. The truth about the separate bedrooms. The truth about the crop of 1815 and the lawsuits and Mr. Peabody and my mother's pearls. I told her, Jonathan, the story you forgot to tell her when you were telling her about your unhappy marriage. My God. Yes. My God, Elizabeth. Sit down, Jonathan. Please. You are swaying. He sat. She had not moved from her desk, and she did not move now. She sat in her straight-backed chair with her hands folded on the blotter, and she watched her husband of 11 years put his elbows on his knees and his head in his hands. And for the first time since she had heard his voice through the study door 2 nights before, Elizabeth Carter felt something move in her chest that was not anger and was not even quite grief. It was closer to recognition. She was watching a man become visible to himself. It was not a kind thing to watch, but it was a necessary thing, and she had waited 11 years for it. Elizabeth. Yes. I do not know what to say to you. No, you do not. I have been a fool. Yes. I have been a worse thing than a fool. I have been... Do not say it, Jonathan. Elizabeth. Do not say it. I do not want to hear it yet. You have had 2 days. 2 days is not enough to say a word you will be able to stand behind in a week. Say it to me in a month. Say it to me in a year. Do not say it to me now because you are frightened and because a girl you talked into loving you has put herself on a coach to Savannah rather than look at you one more time. Elizabeth. Yes. You are harder than I knew. Yes. I did not know this about you. No, Jonathan. You did not know a great many things about me. The hardness is the first of them. There will be others. He did not answer. She let him sit. After a long time he said, without lifting his head, What do you want? I do not know yet. Elizabeth. I do not know yet, Jonathan. That is an honest answer. I have spent 11 years knowing what you wanted. I have not had time to consider what I want. Give me time. How much time? I do not know that either. And in the meantime? In the meantime, this house will run. I will see to the payroll on Friday. I will meet with Mr. Holloway on Monday. The cotton will be brought in September. The debt to the bank in Richmond will be paid down on schedule. You will not need to worry about any of it. Elizabeth, but... He lifted his head. But Jonathan, you will not eat at my table. You will not take coffee from my hand. You will not come into my parlor without knocking. You will not speak my name in the hall without a reason. You will sleep in the bedroom you chose 3 winters ago, and you will continue to sleep there, and you will not cross the hall for any reason short of fire. Is that clear? Elizabeth. Is that clear, Jonathan? Yes. Good. And if I want to speak to you, you will write me a letter. You will leave it on the hall table. I will answer it when I am able. A letter. A letter. In your own house. Yes, Jonathan. That is what I am asking for. You have spoken to me as a housekeeper for 11 years. I would like now the courtesy of being addressed as a correspondent. He stared at her. Then slowly he nodded. Very well. Thank you. He stood. He reached the doorway. He turned back. Elizabeth. Yes, the other book, the second one, the one with the adjustments. Yes. How long have you been keeping it? 8 years. 8. Yes. Why did you not tell me? Elizabeth smiled. It was the same smile she had given Amelia Brooks, and it was not kind and it was not unkind, and it was the smile of a woman who had finally arrived at the end of a question she had been answering in her head for most of her life. Jonathan, I did not tell you because you did not ask. In 8 years you did not once ask me how the men were paid. You did not ask who kept the list of the men with sick children. You did not ask who decided when to dock a hand and when to advance him. You assumed that it happened by itself. Books, Jonathan, do not write themselves. Wives, Jonathan, do not either. I have been writing us both for 11 years. You are only noticing because I have put down the pen. He did not answer. He walked out. That night, for the first time since her wedding, Elizabeth did not go down to see that the doors were locked. She stayed in her room. She heard Jonathan go down at 10. She heard him check each door. The front, the kitchen, the side porch, the cellar, and she heard him do it slowly, because he did not know the order, because the order had been hers for 11 years and he had never thought to learn it. He came back up the stairs at 11. He paused outside her door. He did not knock. He did not speak. He went to his own room and he closed the door, and the house was silent. In the morning there was a letter on the hall table. It was in his handwriting. It was addressed in full and in ink to Mrs. Elizabeth Carter. She picked it up. She did not open it. She carried it upstairs to her desk, and she set it unopened on the blotter, and she went down to the kitchen. Hannah. Ma'am, coffee this morning, if you please. For one. Yes, ma'am. And Hannah. Ma'am. Mr. Carter will take his breakfast in the study from now on. You will carry it to him. You will not wait. If he speaks to you, you will answer politely, and you will come directly back to the kitchen. You will not linger. Is that clear? Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Hannah. Hannah hesitated. Ma'am? Yes. Are you all right? Elizabeth looked at her cook. This woman, twice widowed, sharp as a whetted blade, who had stood in this kitchen for 9 years, and who had almost certainly understood long before Elizabeth had, that something had gone wrong under this roof. Hannah, I have not been all right in a long time. I am only now beginning to notice. Pour the coffee. She took the cup upstairs. She sat at her desk. She looked at the unopened letter. She did not open it. She picked up her pen, and she opened the leather book to the page marked, What He Owes. And beneath the first entry, 11 years of a woman he did not love, spent on a house he could not have run without her, she wrote the second. 1 book he did not know existed. 8 years of keeping it. 2 nights of learning he could not read it without me. She dipped the pen again. 1 girl sent away in shame who did not deserve the story he told her. She blew on the ink. She closed the book. She set the pen in its stand. Then, and only then, she picked up the letter. She broke the seal. She read it. She read it twice. She set it down on the blotter. Across the hall in the study, where he had not yet begun to understand the ledger in front of him, Jonathan Carter was drinking coffee brought by a woman who had never brought it to him before, in a cup he had not known, came from his wife's grandmother, out of a house that had not for one single morning in 11 years belonged to him the way he had believed it did, and upstairs with her husband's first letter flat on the desk in front of her. Elizabeth Carter, who had not wept in 11 years, and who had not intended to weep tonight, either sat very still in her straight-backed chair and read the line he had underlined twice in his own careful hand at the bottom of the page. I do not know how to fix this, but I know I was wrong. She read it a third time. Then she folded the letter in half, and she folded it in half again, and she put it in the drawer of her desk, and she did not answer it. Not that night. Not the next morning. Not for a long, long time. The letter stayed in the drawer for 9 days. In those 9 days, the estate ran the way it had always run because Elizabeth ran it. The payroll was made on Friday. The yearlings were moved to the east paddock because the boards came in from Richmond on Tuesday, and Mr. Holloway's men had the fence up by Thursday noon. The cotton tops were clean. The debt to Richmond was paid down by $240 on account. Hannah baked. The Reverend did not call again. And every morning a new letter appeared on the hall table. Elizabeth did not answer them. She read each one. She folded each one. She placed each one in the drawer on top of the last. By the 9th day, the stack was thick enough that she had to press it flat with her hand to close the drawer. Jonathan did not ask her if she had read them. He did not ask her anything. He took his breakfast in the study. He took his supper in the study. He rode out with Mr. Holloway in the mornings, and he came back in the afternoons, and he wrote apparently letters because each morning there was another one, and each morning the handwriting was a little less careful than the day before, and by the 9th day the ink had begun to blot in 2 places, and one of the lines had been crossed out and rewritten. On the 10th morning there was no letter. Hannah noticed it first. Hannah noticed everything. Ma'am. Yes. The master rode out at 5 this morning. Did he? Yes, ma'am. He did not take breakfast. He did not take coffee. He took the black horse, and he went north. North. Toward the Whitlock place, ma'am. Elizabeth set down her cup. Thank you, Hannah. She did not finish her coffee. She went upstairs, and she opened the drawer, and she took out the most recent letter, the 9th dated the evening before, and she read it again. She had read it the night before, but she had read it quickly. She read it slowly now. Elizabeth, I went to see Mr. Peabody in Charlottesville yesterday. I rode the whole way without stopping. He will not receive me without an appointment which I did not have, and so I sat in his office for 4 hours until he would. I asked him what I owed him. He told me. I paid him in full from the Richmond account without consulting you, because I did not want another day to pass in which a bill of yours was sitting open on his desk under my name. He asked me as I was leaving how you were. I could not answer him. I could not answer him because I did not know, and I could not answer him, because I am not the person who is permitted to know any more. I am going to the Whitlock place in the morning. I am going to tell Henry Whitlock that I will not be taking any further counsel from him. He is not a friend to you, and therefore he is not a friend to me. I should have understood this 11 years ago. I am understanding it now. I am not asking to cross the hall. I am asking only that you know where I have gone. Jonathan. Elizabeth read it a third time. She folded it. She put it back in the drawer. She went downstairs. Hannah. Ma'am? When Mr. Carter returns, will you tell him I would like to speak to him in the parlor? Hannah's hands stopped on the dough. Ma'am? Yes, Hannah. Yes, ma'am. He came back at 2. He did not come through the front. He came through the kitchen because his boots were muddy, and he had never in 11 years walked mud across her front hall. He stood in the kitchen doorway in his shirt sleeves, and he said to Hannah, "Where is she?" And Hannah said, "In the parlor, sir. She is expecting you." He went to the parlor. He did not knock. Then he stopped himself, and he stepped back, and he knocked. "Come in." He came in. Elizabeth was sitting in the chair by the window. She had her hands folded in her lap. She did not stand. Jonathan? Elizabeth. Sit down, please. He sat. I received your letter, the 9th one. Yes. I will not be answering it. I will not be answering any of them, but I have read them all. I know. How do you know? Because you have put them in the drawer instead of the fire. She did not answer that. Jonathan. Yes. I spoke to Mr. Whitcomb yesterday, at the bank. Yes. He told me that you paid the Charlottesville bill in full, $312. Yes. From the Richmond account. Yes. Jonathan. The Richmond account does not have $312 to spare. Not this month. Not with the interest coming due on the 15th. I know. Then how did you pay it? I sold the black mare. Elizabeth went very still. You sold the mare? Yes. Your father's mare? Yes. Jonathan, I could not ask you, Elizabeth. I could not ask you. I could not come to you with one more thing for you to solve. I sold the mare to Whitlock's cousin in Albemarle on Sunday. I rode her there, and I rode a borrowed horse home. The money went to Peabody on Tuesday. Elizabeth did not speak. She looked at him for a long time longer, perhaps than she had looked at him in the whole of the last 11 years. You rode her there yourself? Yes. How far is it? 42 miles. 42 miles. Yes? In one day. In one day. Jonathan. Elizabeth, I could not come home and tell you I had asked another man's cousin to buy my father's horse. I had to do it first. I had to do it so that it was done. I am sorry. I am sorry I did not. I am sorry I cannot. Stop. He stopped. Jonathan, listen to me. Yes. When I married you, you had a black mare your father had given you on your 18th birthday. You told me the first summer we were married that you would not sell her if the house was burning. You told me you would turn her out before you sold her. I have remembered that for 11 years. Yes. You sold her. Yes. For me. No, Elizabeth, not for you. I would not insult you by saying it was for you. I sold her because she was mine to sell and the bill was mine to pay. I have been selling you, Elizabeth, for 11 years. I have been selling you in small pieces, and I did not understand that I was doing it. The mare was the first thing I have ever sold that cost me anything." Elizabeth did not answer. She could not for a moment quite answer. Then she stood. She walked to the sideboard. She poured a glass of water, not for him, but for herself, and she drank it, and she set the glass down. "Jonathan." "Yes." "Do you know what Amelia Brooks wrote in her letter to her uncle before she left for Savannah?" "No." "I do. Margaret obtained a copy by means I am not going to describe. Miss Brooks wrote that she had been deceived about the character of her situation, that she was removing herself from it, and that she wished to be known from that day forward as a woman who had learned at 24 to ask a second question before she believed the first. Those were her words. Elizabeth, she was a better woman than I gave her credit for. I have thought about her every day for 9 days. I have thought about how I sat in Margaret's parlor, and I spoke to her as though she was the person who had wronged me, when in fact she was only the person who had been wronged alongside me by the same man. I know. You know. I know. I have thought about her too. Have you? Yes, not the way I did before. I have thought about what I told her. I have thought about the words I used. I told her you were cold. I told her you were practical. I told her the marriage was a settlement and not a union. I told her these things because I wanted them to be true, Elizabeth. I wanted them to be true because if they were true, then I was not a man who had abandoned a wife. I was a man who had discovered an error. Do you understand the difference? Yes. A man can live with an error. A man cannot live with what I actually am. Elizabeth turned to face him. And what are you, Jonathan? I am a man who chose a woman for her usefulness and spent 11 years punishing her for being useful. Silence. Say that again. I chose you for your usefulness. The other part. And I spent 11 years punishing you for being useful, for balancing the books, for running the house, for knowing the names of the Hand's children, for handling Peabody, for settling the lawsuits, for every competent thing you did. I punished you for it by moving my things across the hall and by calling it a cough, by letting Henry Whitlock tell me your value was measured by the ledger, by sitting in that study and telling a girl of 24 that I had married an arrangement when what I had married was a woman who has every day of 11 years been carrying a house on her back that I could not lift. He was not looking at her. He was looking at his hands. I did not know I was doing it, Elizabeth. I want to tell you that, and I want to tell you that I know it does not matter that I did not know. Elizabeth sat down, not in her straight-backed chair, in the chair opposite him. For the first time in 9 days, and perhaps for the first time in 3 years, she sat in the same half of a room with her husband. Jonathan? Yes. I am not ready to forgive you. I know. I may never be ready. I know that too. I do not know if what you are telling me now will still be true in 6 months, when the crop is in, and the debt is paid, and the house is running again, and the work is easy. I have seen men be sorry in August and be themselves again in November. I have seen it in my own father. Yes. I will not be my mother, Jonathan. Do you understand me? I will not spend another 11 years being useful to a man who forgets in winter what he swore in July. Elizabeth. I am telling you this plainly, because I am only going to tell you once. If you want whatever this is, you will earn it. Not with letters, not with mares, not with trips to Charlottesville. You will earn it in November and in February and in April of next year. You will earn it on mornings when nothing is at stake and there is no one watching. You will earn it by being a man I could have married instead of a man I was chosen for. Is that clear? Yes. Say it back to me. I will earn it when there is nothing at stake and no one watching. Good. Elizabeth. Yes. May I ask one thing? You may ask. Will you come down to supper? She looked at him. Tonight. Tonight? Or any night. Not to pour my coffee. Not to see that the doors are locked. Only to eat at the same table. That is all. I am not asking for anything else. I am asking if I may sit at a table in my own house with my wife in the room. Not opposite me if you do not wish it. Beside me if you will allow it. Or across the room if that is what you can give. I am asking if there is a chair, Elizabeth, in any part of this house that you will allow me to sit near." Elizabeth did not answer at once. She thought about her mother buttoning the back of her wedding dress. She thought about the first bill she had paid out of her dowry in 1815 with Mr. Peabody sitting across from her, looking at her as though she were a grown woman and not her dead father-in-law's daughter-in-law. She thought about Amelia Brooks on the coach to Savannah. She thought about Hannah, widowed twice, standing in the kitchen with flour on her apron and asking her mistress if she was all right. She thought about the leather book and the 2 entries under What He Owes, and she thought about the black mare 42 miles from home, bought by a cousin of Henry Whitlock's in Albemarle for a sum she did not yet know. "Jonathan?" "Yes." "Tonight you will eat in the study as you have been doing." "Yes." "Tomorrow you may take your breakfast in the dining room. I will not be there. Hannah will bring it to you. You will sit at the table. Alone. You will sit there every morning for 1 week, whether I come down or whether I do not. At the end of the week, if you have done this without complaint and without a letter asking me to join you, I will consider coming down on the Sunday morning. Not to sit with you, to sit in the room with you. Do you understand?" "Yes." "And Jonathan?" "Yes. You will write me no more letters." "No more letters. If you wish to say something to me, you will say it to my face, in daylight, without ink, like a man speaking to a woman, and not like a man composing a confession he intends to forget by Sunday." "Yes. You may go." He stood. He did not reach for her. He did not say her name again. He bowed a small formal bow, the kind a man makes to a woman he has been introduced to at a gathering and not to a wife, and he walked out of the parlor. Elizabeth sat in the chair he had vacated. She did not cry. She had not cried in 11 years, and she did not begin now. But she put her hand flat on the arm of the chair where he had been sitting, and she felt that the wood was still warm, and she understood with a clarity that surprised her that this was the first afternoon in 11 summers that she had sat in a chair her husband had sat in, while the chair still remembered him. That evening, Hannah brought Jonathan's supper to the study. Hannah brought Elizabeth's supper to the parlor, and on the hall table for the first time in 10 mornings, there was no letter, only a small plain note in his hand that read, "I will see you at breakfast or I will not. Either way, thank you." Elizabeth read it once. She did not put it in the drawer. She folded it in half, and she set it in the small box on her desk, where she kept the things she had not yet decided what to do with her mother's last letter, the lock of hair from the child she had lost in the 2nd year of her marriage, and never told him about a pressed flower from the first summer she had believed against her mother's advice, that she might one day be loved. She closed the box. She blew out the candle. And for the first night in 11 years, Elizabeth Carter did not lie awake listening for her husband's cough across the hall, because the cough had never been real. And she at last was. The week began on a Monday, and Hannah reported every morning. "He came down at 6:30, ma'am. Ate alone. Did not ask for you." "Thank you, Hannah." "He read the paper, ma'am. He did not look at the door." "Thank you, Hannah." By Wednesday, Hannah had stopped being asked to report and had begun to report anyway. "Ma'am?" "Yes, Hannah." "Mr. Whitlock come up the drive this morning." Elizabeth looked up from her ledger. "Henry Whitlock?" "Yes, ma'am, on foot. He did not ride." "And?" "And Mr. Carter met him on the porch, ma'am. Did not invite him in. Not in the parlor, not in the study, not even the hall." "What did Mr. Carter say?" "I was not close enough to catch it all, ma'am. But I heard him say plain, ma'am, you will not come in this house again, Henry. Not on Thursdays, and not on any other day. You will not take counsel from me, and you will not give it. I have heard enough of what you have to say about a wife." That was the word he used, ma'am. Plain. In front of the Pettyjohn boy who was mending the gate. Elizabeth set down her pen. In front of the boy. "Yes, ma'am. The boy will tell his mother, and his mother will tell the whole of the South Road by Friday." "Yes, she will." "Ma'am." "Thank you, Hannah." Hannah did not move. "Ma'am, if you do not mind me saying—" "Go on." 9 years I have been in this kitchen. 9 years, and I have not once in all that time heard Mr. Carter raise his voice to Mr. Whitlock. Not once. He raised it this morning. He raised it where the servants could hear. I thought you should know. I know now. Hannah went back to her flour. Elizabeth sat at her desk for a long time after that, with her pen laid flat across the ledger, and she thought about a man of 40 years of age choosing on a Wednesday morning in July to publicly break with the only friend he had kept since boyhood, and to do it on the front porch in his own voice, where the hands would hear it before noon. She did not write it in the leather book. She did not write anything in the leather book that day. On Thursday, she went to the bank. Mr. Whitcomb. Mrs. Carter. I would like to alter the terms of the Carter account, the estate account, not my personal account. Mr. Whitcomb looked at her over the tops of his spectacles. Mrs. Carter. Alter them how? I would like my name added as a signatory, equal to my husband's. Either signature alone to be sufficient for any transaction. Mrs. Carter, that is not customary. It is not, Mr. Whitcomb. It is also not prohibited. My husband is sole proprietor of the estate by law. He may grant signatory rights to any person of his choosing. He may grant them to his wife as readily as to a steward. You will prepare the papers. I will bring him in to sign them on Monday. Mrs. Carter, has Mr. Carter agreed to this? He has not yet been asked. Then, Mr. Whitcomb, prepare the papers. He will sign them. I am not asking you whether he will. I am telling you what will occur on Monday morning at 10 o'clock. Your part is to have the papers ready. Are we clear? Mrs. Carter, we are clear. Thank you. She rode home. She did not tell Jonathan about the papers that evening or the next. On Friday the payroll went out. Mr. Holloway came to the door for the envelopes, and for the first time in 8 years, Jonathan came out of the study to speak to him. Elizabeth heard them in the hall. Holloway. Sir. Mrs. Carter has prepared the envelopes as always, but I will be walking out with you to distribute them. Sir. I said I will be walking out. I have not handed a man his week's wages in 11 years. It is time I did. Yes, sir. Holloway. Sir. If any man asks you why I am with you today, tell him the truth. Tell him I should have been doing it all along. Tell him my wife has been handing them out for me, and I did not know how to look the men in the face because I did not know their names. A long pause. Yes, sir. I will tell them. The door closed. Elizabeth, standing at the top of the stairs, where neither of them had seen her, put her hand against the wall. On Saturday evening, Margaret came up the drive. Elizabeth. Margaret. I have a letter from Savannah. Elizabeth sat down. From her. From her. Is it to me? It is to me, but she asked that I read you the relevant portion. I will if you wish me to. Read it. Margaret unfolded the letter. My aunt is kind and the air in Savannah is good, and I am learning by slow steps to speak of what happened as something that occurred to a woman I used to be. Please tell Mrs. Carter that I have not spoken of her to anyone, and I will not, and that I think of her more than I ought to. Please tell her that I wish for her what she did not have the chance to wish for herself at 24, which is a marriage or a life chosen in daylight. She will understand what I mean. Margaret folded the letter. Elizabeth did not speak for a moment. She is a better woman than her age suggested. Yes. I was not kind to her, Margaret. You were truthful to her. That is a different thing. I think she knows the difference. Yes. Elizabeth. Yes. What will you do now? I will go to Richmond for a month. Margaret looked at her. A month. A month. My aunt's sister has been ill, and I have been promising for 2 years to sit with her. I will leave on Tuesday. I will not be back before the middle of August. And Jonathan? Jonathan will run his estate. Elizabeth. He will run it, Margaret. With Mr. Holloway. With Hannah. With the men whose names he is learning this week on the South Road. He will make decisions. Some of them will be wrong. The wrong ones will cost him money, and perhaps time, but they will not cost him the house, because I have spent 11 years arranging the house so that it cannot be lost in a month. He will survive it. He will either survive it the way a man does who is becoming the master of his own life, or he will survive it the way a man does who is waiting for his wife to come home and fix it. I intend to find out which. Elizabeth Carter. Yes. You are. You are not the woman I grew up with. No. I am the woman who has been underneath her for 30 years. On Monday morning, she told him, Jonathan, I am going to Richmond on Tuesday. I will be gone for a month. You will run the estate in my absence. You will not write to me except to inform me of a death or a fire. You will make such decisions as need to be made. You will make them alone. Do you understand? He did not answer immediately. Then he said yes. Good. Elizabeth. Yes. Thank you. Do not thank me, Jonathan. I am not doing it for you. I know. That is why I am thanking you. She looked at him. Also, before I go, we will ride into town at 10 o'clock. Mr. Whitcomb has papers for you to sign. What papers? The estate account. You will add my name as an equal signatory. Either signature alone to be sufficient. I have had the papers drawn up. Elizabeth. Yes. Why did you not ask me? Because I am not asking you, Jonathan. I am telling you. This estate has been run on my name and my hand for 11 years without my name on a single piece of paper. I am putting my name on the paper now. You may sign it this morning, or you may refuse to sign it. If you refuse, I will go to Richmond on Tuesday regardless, and I will stay there past August, and I will take the matter to Mr. Peabody in September. You will decide which it is to be. I am not begging, and I am not bargaining. I am telling you what I require. A pause. I will sign it. At 10. At 10. Thank you, Jonathan. They rode into town. He signed the papers. Mr. Whitcomb did not look up from his desk. On the way home, Jonathan said only one thing. Elizabeth. Yes. When you come back from Richmond. Yes. Will you come back to this house? Yes, Jonathan. I will come back to this house. The question is not whether I will come back. The question is what I will be when I return. What do you mean? I mean, I do not yet know whether I will return as your wife, or as your business partner, or as a woman who lives under the same roof as you for convenience. I do not know. I will know in a month. I will tell you when I know. He nodded. He did not ask another question. She left on Tuesday. A month is a long time and a short time. In Richmond, Elizabeth sat with her aunt's sister, who died on the 9th day, and then she stayed on because the aunt needed the company, and then she stayed longer because she had begun for the first time in her adult life to spend whole days without opening a ledger. She read. She walked. She had a dress made that was not black and was not gray, and was not the color of ash. On the 23rd day, a letter came from home. It was from Hannah. Ma'am. No fire and no death, and therefore the master is not writing you. I am. The bay mare foaled, Tuesday healthy colt, no trouble. The crop is clean. Mr. Carter paid the men himself again on Friday, and he has learned the names of all but 3. Mr. Whitlock has not been back. Mr. Carter takes his breakfast in the dining room alone every morning as you instructed, and on Sundays he sits in the room with your empty chair and reads, and does not speak. And I have watched him do it, and I thought you should know. I am yours in service, Hannah. Elizabeth read the letter twice. She folded it. She did not put it in a drawer. She put it in the pocket of the new dress, and she wore it for the rest of the day. And that night, for the first time since she had heard her husband's voice through the study door, she went to bed and slept straight through to morning without waking. She came home on the 29th day. She did not send word. She came up the drive in a hired trap at 3 in the afternoon, and Jonathan was on the porch not waiting because he did not know she was coming mending a bridle with his own hands. He looked up. He put down the bridle. He did not run to her. He did not call out. He stood up slowly, and he came down the steps, and he stopped 3 paces from the trap, and he said, Elizabeth. Jonathan. You are home. I am home. How was the journey? The journey was well, Elizabeth. Yes. I am glad you are here. I know. He helped her down. He did not take her hand longer than the step required. She walked into her own house. She walked into the parlor. She walked into the dining room where his single place was set for supper, and where across from his chair on the table lay a single white napkin folded into the shape of a pyramid in the place where she had sat for the first 8 years of her marriage. She looked at it a long time. Then she turned. Jonathan was in the doorway. Jonathan. Yes. How long have you been setting that place? Since you left, every night. Knowing I was not coming. Knowing you were not coming. Why? Because Elizabeth, because I did not want to be the man who set it on the first night you came home. I wanted to be the man who had been setting it every night. There is a difference. You taught me there is a difference. She was quiet. Jonathan? Yes. Sit down, please. He sat. She did not sit opposite him. She sat beside him. Not in her old place. In the chair to his right, the chair that had belonged for 11 years to no one, the chair she had saved for a guest who never came. Jonathan. Yes. I am not going to be your wife again, not in the way I was before. I know. I do not want that marriage. I do not want any woman to have that marriage. I will not go back to it, and I will not pretend I did not leave it. I know, but I have been thinking in Richmond about what I do want. And what I want, Jonathan, is something I have never had. Something I was not given, and something I did not know at 22 I was permitted to ask for. Tell me, I want a marriage that is chosen. Not arranged, not inherited, not fallen into because a father died and a crop failed and a girl was of age. I want to be a woman who woke up one morning and looked at a man and decided in that moment and with her eyes open to stay. I did not do that at 22. I was not asked to. I was told what my marriage was, and I set about the task of it, and 11 years went by. That will not happen a second time. Elizabeth. Yes. Are you asking me to court you? No, Jonathan. I am telling you that you may try. I am telling you that I will be here in this house, running half of it in my own name. I will be here as a partner, and as a neighbor, and as the woman you have eaten breakfast across the hall from for 3 winters. I will be here in the morning, and I will be here in the evening, and you will every day have the opportunity to become a man I might, if I wake up one morning and look at him with my eyes open, decide to stay with. Not because I was chosen for him, because I chose him. And if you do not? If I do not, Jonathan, then you will have been for the rest of our lives a man who had the chance to be chosen by his own wife, which is, I think, a finer chance than most men are given, and more than I was given at 22. He did not answer. He put his hand on the table, not near hers, but on the table. An offered thing, not a demand. Elizabeth. Yes. I will try. I know you will. I will try every day. I know. And if I fail, then you will have failed a woman who finally knew what she was failing at. That is the most honest marriage 2 people in our position can have, Jonathan. I am giving it to you. I am not going to give it to you twice. He nodded. He did not take her hand. But after a moment, very slowly, she took his. Not the way a wife takes a husband's hand. The way a woman takes the hand of a man she has not yet decided about, but has decided to consider. Outside, Hannah was calling to the Pettyjohn boy about the evening bread. The yearlings were in the east paddock. The bay mare's colt was nursing. The second book was balanced to the penny. The Richmond debt would be paid by September. Henry Whitlock would not come up the drive again. Amelia Brooks in Savannah was reading a book of her own choosing in a room her husband had not yet been selected for her to share, and in the dining room in the summer of 1818, in a house that had been built on a woman's silence and was now being rebuilt on her voice. Elizabeth Carter sat beside her husband of 11 years, not across from him, not behind him, not in the shadow of him, and she did not yet know whether she would love him, and she did not promise that she would. She only knew for the first time in her life that it was hers to decide. For 11 years, Elizabeth Carter had been the right choice and the wrong woman. She was no longer either. She was the woman who chose, and that in the end was the only marriage worth keeping. Not the one a man had entered because his father was dying, and not the one a woman had entered because her mother told her she would not be loved, but the one two people with their eyes open and their hands empty, and the past laid plainly between them, decided to build one honest morning at a time from whatever was left. She had not been chosen. She had never been chosen. But she had at last chosen herself. And from that choice, and only from that choice, every other choice she would ever make was finally and entirely her own.